All right, so you can begin.
Good morning, sir, and my fellow colleagues. I am Nadia Alexander Haynes, and my co-presenter today is Mr. Dale Pran. We will be presenting Chapter 6, Leading with Integrity and Moral Purpose. This is an interactive session, so feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Listen to these two ethical dilemmas. Imagine you're at a restaurant and you see your friend's wife engage in some serious flirting with another man. Do you tell your friend and ruin his marriage, or do you pretend you never saw that? Dilemma number 2. As a member of law enforcement, you find out about illegal activity by one of your peers in your department. Would you turn him in, or do you turn a blind eye to the situation? Too often, we find ourselves in ethical dilemmas like these, and our tendency is to either react quickly to resolve them or pretend we did not notice. However, avoidance leaves you troubled, and quick decisions prevent careful thought about all the aspects of the situation, which could raise questions of character and ethics if participants rush to decisions that are void of ethical considerations.
Nadia,
Yes, Dale.
concerning the dilemmas you mentioned earlier, how would you handle an ethical dilemma of this sort?
For me, Dale, I handle ethical dilemmas by examining the situation, weighing the pros and cons, and evaluating the situation against my personal ethics, morals, and values. Because, again, I believe that the most helpful thing in handling ethical dilemmas is to know yourself well, know what your morals, values, and ethics are, and gain some practice in handling ethical dilemmas. That way, you would have the courage to stand by what you believe in when ethical dilemmas occur. That's good
All right,
enough for you, dear?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
can I just ask a question? I
Sure,
see
sir.
somebody called Natasha Walker in the class. Can that person identify who they are?
Yes, sir, I spoke to you some weeks ago. It's Natasha. Good morning again from the evening class. Remember we spoke?
All right, so you're just stepping in. Okay, no worries. I know what to do.
It
Thank
took
you.
me a while, but I finally got to this. Sorry to be late.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry about that. You could continue now.
That's okay, sir. In this chapter, we are going to discuss the process of creating and sustaining ethical organization environments, analyze the moral dimensions of transforming leadership theory, and examine the ethical influences that participants have on their organizations through behavior modeling. Creating and sustaining an ethical organization environment. The organization's mission or common purpose should be the driving force for identifying its values. Everyone should be able to identify and operate from a shared set of core values that guide the organization's activities, actions, and decisions. Employees must be empowered to hold each other accountable, participate in moral talk, and work together to sustain an ethical environment. It is important when using ethical decision-making models and principles that you are prepared to receive criticism, see members revolt, and perhaps experience a decline in membership. Because not everyone in an organization has moral orientation or is prepared or willing to do the right thing. Some would prefer to take the easy way out, do what is more economical, or take the path of least resistance. Nash 1990 proposes 4 ethical qualities that persons must have in order to advance ethical standards in an organization, such as critical thinking skills, high degree of integrity to stand up for what's your personal and professional ethics, the ability to see situations from other perspectives, motivated to do the right thing at all times. These 4 qualities of leadership when translated into behavior and action, help create an ethical organizational environment. When you identify a problem as having moral or ethical implications and involve others in the decision-making process, you provide another example of how an ethical environment is established. Several strategies and interventions can be used to create and maintain an ethical climate in a group or organizational setting. The process of doing so should be intentional and include all the elements of the relational leadership model and the dimensions of knowing, being, doing. Members are empowered to hold each other accountable, participate in moral talk or dialogue, and work together to sustain an ethical environment. Unethical behavior should also be addressed. The former punitive practice was through public humiliation, but was revisited with an obligation under the principle of doing no harm to protect an individual's right to confidentiality when addressing a breach and ensuring that due process is provided and safeguarded. I'm going to take you to moral purpose as an act of courage. Can anyone say what is moral courage? I can give you a hint. Dale, can you tell me what is moral courage?
Let's shoot enough of it. The ability, the ability to hold to your moral standards despite the consequences that may come forward out of it.
Okay, that's great, Phil. Thank you. Dale, you have anything for us?
Well, I think moral courage is the ability to stand up for what you think is right and practice that what you consider ethical. You have to practice what you consider is ethical.
Okay. Okay, moral courage, both were quite good. Moral courage is a highly esteemed trait displayed by individuals who, despite adversity and personal risk, decide to act upon their ethical values to help others during difficult ethical dilemmas. There are different types of courage. It could be physical, personal, emotional, intellectual, social, moral, spiritual. It takes personal courage to do the right thing. For example, Enron was one of the most famous downfalls in American history. The company executives were padding their accounts to make the company look financially healthy. Sharon Watkins, a former executive of Enron, displayed personal courage when she exposed breaches of conduct by her boss, Ken Lay. In doing so, Watkins risked losing her high-level, high-paying job. She showed both personal courage and integrity in taking a stand against the unethical practices of Enron. Assumptions about ethical leadership. Ethical leadership encompasses many things, but ultimately boils down to these 6 main elements: honesty, justice, respect, integrity, responsibility, transparency. It is the assumption that ethics is the heart of leadership, and all leadership is values-driven. Ethical leadership can be learned because it is a process. It involves experience, reflection, and application. However, it is a connection between ethical thought and action. Character development is an essential ingredient of ethical leadership and is a shared process which all is involved in the process. Everything we do teaches. We all learn by watching. If we condone bad ethics, it may signal that this behavior is acceptable. I now hand you over to Dale to take you through the rest of the presentation, cultural assumptions.
Good morning, everyone again. Cultural assumption. Cultural assumptions define what is normal or natural in every social situation or human condition. In this case, a social situation is considered when you and at least one person is present. The human condition is a term that describes the characteristics of human existence, including experience and behavior. Sometimes individuals or even entire social groups possess attributes that do not match the socially defined just looking distant or strange may reduce an individual to the single description stigmatizing attribute. Ethics exist in a cultural context. They are culturally bound or culture specific. Any type of discrimination is no longer acceptable in first world countries. For example, gay, racial discrimination, or gender discrimination. Just the name of corruption.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You're breaking up somehow or the other.
Okay, sir.
Nadia, while he's presenting, could you mute yours? Because I mean, it might be kind of echoing off. Go ahead and let's see how that goes.
Start back. Yeah. Corruption is a culturally constructed behavior with varying degrees of tolerance and therefore varying frequency of occurrence across countries. That better, sir?
No, it's still kind of shaky. I don't know if it's your microphone or there's something interfering with your connection.
Maybe somebody else close by using a system now, maybe who doing class or who doing something else, a system. Yeah, bouncing off on him or he bouncing off on them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
you
one
need to
else-
check.
No one else.
Yes. So why giving you that feedback?
Well, I don't know.
Maybe let in the best interest of them to get their full marks, sir. Let just a suggestion, let Nadia complete it because we're missing a lot of what you're saying, Pran.
Yeah, it's
you know it to distort.
Nadia,
So,
would you be capable of doing that?
Of course she will be once you get the full marks. So
Judy, relax.
Yes. Yeah,
we have to
we
ask still, remember they prepared this work. So
yeah.
Nadia? Hi, Nadia. It's kind of unfair to ask that, you know. Fran, do you have some other software open on your PC besides the Teams?
So she trying to unmute her mic.
Or Nadia?
Yeah.
She's trying to unmute her mic.
Still getting feedback, sir, when I'm speaking.
You're still spotty. What's happening is it's almost like you're shorting off. All right, tell Nadia to leave and come back. It might help correct the connection.
Okay.
You could probably try that too.
Hello.
Right, Nadia, we're hearing you now.
Yes, sir. He's leaving to come back.
All right, to see if we can improve the connection.
Yeah, to see the connection, correct.
All right, let's see how that works out. We'll hold on there for a bit. It's just that he has good stuff that he's saying. It's just that it's going in and out all the time. All right, Fran, let's hear how you're sounding.
Yes, sir. Yeah, am I better here now?
Yeah, that's much better, actually.
Starting back from the top, cultural assumption.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Cultural assumption define what is normal or natural in every social situation or human condition. In this case, a social situation is considered when you and at least one other person is present. The human condition is a term that describes the characteristics of human existence, including experience and behavior. Sometimes individuals or even entire social groups possess attributes that do not match the socially defined natural state. Looking different or strange may reduce an individual to the single description stigmatizing attribute. Ethics exist in a cultural context. They are culturally bound or cultural specific. Any type of discrimination is no longer acceptable in first world countries. For example, gay, racial discrimination, or gender discrimination. Corruption is culturally constructed behavior with varying speed of occurrence and therefore varying frequency of occurrence across countries. Some examples of corruption are conflict of interest, hiring friends and family, like how military feel you only bring in person you know, your friends and your family. Ethical theories and moral purpose. Ethical theories provide a glimpse into how human judgment is made and the thought process individuals engage in solve ethical dilemmas and other problems. In other words, ethical theories attempts to provide clear, unified account of what our ethical obligations are. It is what we are obligated to do without referring directly to specific examples. Transforming leadership theory. Transforming leadership. Gotta go back there.
Now there you have to go back one slide.
Transforming leadership involves persuasion, a desire to change something, and multi-directional influence relationship between leaders and participants. Transformational leaders express values or ideals such as peace, justice, fairness, liberty, equal opportunity, and the general welfare of people. Modeling a moral purpose. A moral purpose is defined as a value that, when articulated, appeals to the innate sense held by some individuals of what is right and what is worthwhile. If participants in admire, identify with another member or leader, they will be more likely to imitate that behavior. They focus on developing learning literacy and learning skills, have a strong system of pastoral care, and are committed to providing the sort of enriching experiences that more advantaged learners take for granted. The behavior of the leader encourages ethical behavior. For example, being a member of the military. As a leader, I should lead by example. I should carry out the actions that I expect my subordinates to carry out. This will encourage to be like the next slide. Moral talk. Moral talk is our primary means of bringing morality to bear on practical problems. It is an incredibly valuable tool for making the world a better place. Moral talk can be used well, and it can also be abused. Morality in this case is the principle considering the distinction between right and wrong, or good or bad.
Hold on, Pran. You have a speaker system attached to your to your system?
No, sir. It's just
You have speakers on your on your laptop?
No, sir. Just the normal,
we getting
built-in speaker.
Sorry?
The normal built-in speaker in the laptop.
Turn on the volume on that because that's where it's echoing back and forth. Turn on your speaker volume. And if you can, turn up your microphone volume.
Better now?
Let's see how that works. Go ahead. Moral talk.
Instead of using moral talk for morally worthy aims, many use it to humiliate, intimidate, and threaten people they dislike. Impress their friends, feel better about themselves, and make people less suspicious of their own misconduct. Those that avoid moral talk is due to moral illiteracy. Both leaders and followers are responsible for initiating moral talk. Ethical decision-making models. Ethical decision-making models encourage people to work through dilemmas with a moral purpose in mind and provide frameworks with which to guide decision-making and analysis. The goal of each model is to provide a framework for making the best decision in a particular situation in which a person is confronted. When working through ethical issues, leaders and participants must be reflective, challenging, caring, purposeful, and consultative. In that, you must have intention to give professional advice or recommendation. KEDA 2005 provides a framework for examining right versus right choices using a four-dilemma paradigm model. Justice versus mercy. Fairness and equity conflict with compassion, empathy, and love. 2. Short-term versus long-term. Immediate needs run counter to future goals. Individual versus community. Self versus others, or small groups versus larger groups. Truth versus loyalty. Honesty competes with commitment, responsibility, or promise keeping. Ethical principles standards. A code of ethical principles and standards is one such set of self-regulatory guidelines. This code guides professionals act responsibly as they employ the privileges granted by society. Ethical codes of conduct that professionals adopt are based in the value of the society Consequently, these values include the balance between the rights and privacy of the individual and the general welfare of society. Most and almost all professionals provide a guide for ethical behavior, the code of conduct, which consists of the conflict of interest, drug use policy, and previously introduced in the Defense Force, the fraternization policy. Beauchamp and Childish, 1979, has 5 ethical principles: respecting autonomy, doing no harm, benefiting others, being just, and being faithful. If you use these principles, it will help you decide a course of action. I will now hand you back over to Nadia for a summary of the presentation.
Thank you, Dale. Just to summarize what Dale and I spoke about today, leading with integrity is a complex process that includes the moral development of an individual, the influence of role models, values-driven leadership, and the organizational environment. The process of developing into an ethical participant and creating ethical environments does not occur overnight. Organizations are made up of humans who can and do make mistakes, which is part of the learning process. Raising questions around ethical issues is a fundamental component of leading with integrity. People who lead with moral purpose often have as many questions as answers. Leading from the relational leadership model means leading with moral purpose, empowering others to lead by example, including other participants in resolving ethical dilemmas, acting ethically to positively affect the public good, and using a process to approach problems that do not offer any clear solutions. Our society is calling for leaders like you all, everyone here. You who can be trusted and who are committed to doing the right thing. Imagine what the world would look like if everyone would strive to create and sustain an ethical environment by rewarding ethical acts, to engage in moral talk, and to carefully work as a group towards resolving dilemmas by using decision-making models. I'll leave you with this. Integrity is connected with respect. Without integrity, you cannot gain the respect of your fellow members, and without that respect, organizational goals are not attained. Are there any questions for Dale and I?
Okay, if there are no questions, I'll stop the recording.